to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you.
Good evening, welcome along to Friday's Three Amigos. It is a pre-recorded show, so we're not being ignorant, but we have pre-recorded this on Thursday, and just keep your comments coming in, but chat amongst yourselves tonight. We've had to pre-record the show, so please let people know when they come into the chat that it's a pre-record. But as always, plenty to talk about, and a good way to kickstart your Newcastle United weekend, and we're going to start with football because it's been a great week. As far as results are concerned, Newcastle beating Manchester United at home 2-0 is one thing, but then going away and putting in that comprehensive performance, which I think we've all spoken about individually on this platform over the last few weeks. Someone is going to get a hiding, I think, is what we've all said at some point. And West Ham were the team, Keith. They got the hiding.
Oh, I tell you what, I'm still as high as a kite. I can't put a lot of this into words, but you know, when you chew on trying to help things happen, and when you watch over the years and think, where does this end? I tell you what, I hope it doesn't end now or anytime soon, because that was just amazing. And amazing for me because we went at, you know, they had a, I laughed when they said, Moyes said they came out on top and they hit the post. No, Bruno hit the post, you clown. You didn't hit the post to do anything. So Bruno hits the post, and then Newcastle butchered them. And then towards the end, they come back into it. And that was the big telling for me, is that when they come back into it, we went again and battered them again. And to me, it was almost more important than Man United. Well, Man United, I thought, were exceptional in every single area. But last night, we're in London, a place that we traditionally haven't done well at. West Ham was desperate to do well. There was so much at stake. And at 2-1, I'm thinking, you know, they're going to come back in it. And then it was just comical. I mean, the goals, there was just so much that I saw last night. And people that you looked at, and like Jacob Murphy, you know what I mean? He's one of us. He's the lad's grown up, and he's become so motivated by it all. You know, he's the king of shithousery, as Neil puts it, and he's a player, and he's a player that when he's playing or when he comes on or when he starts, I'm thinking we're going to get a shift out of him, and he's going to work hard. But it was men and boys. I have a mate who contacted us from Hong Kong yesterday afternoon and asked us if he's a big, massive West Ham supporter. And he asked us if I'd go to London and meet him soon. And after the game, he said, "Don't bother." He couldn't hack it. You know, he loved what we're doing, but God Almighty, I mean, Fabian Schär. I tell you what, when you hear clowns with a capital K turn around and say that his pass wasn't intended, he obviously doesn't watch what we watch every week. Nothing Schär does is unintentional. And that ball was awesome. So was Joe Linton running parallel with the halfway line, so he didn't run himself off and then run at the right time. It was always touch and go. But by God, when they drew the lines on VAR, it was a lot more on than it was off. You know what I mean? It wasn't close. You know what I mean? God Almighty. I thought, like people were talking about being so many inches on and just inches on side. I was thinking, I wish someone give me them inches, I'll tell you. But I looked at that tonight and I just thought it was phenomenal. It was just great to watch. Schär was massive. He was huge. He was. I tell you what a footballer that is. Even when he's whacking people and picking people up yesterday, you see he's got a lovely, nice side to him. Wilson was sharp again. Callum Wilson was sharp. You know, he looked hungry. He looked fast. He looked nippy. He just looked as he was enjoying it. What about Maxi? God, I tell you what a player he looks, because he just looks as though he's understood the message. It's about work rate. It's about team effort. and he just looks as though he's got so much more to offer, and it sounds as though Eddie Howe wants him next year and there beyond. I mean, I personally have always said I want him to stay and I want him to do well, but I thought last night he was getting towards his unplayable days. I thought at times when he does something, when he dropped his shoulder, when he went past that lad, he went past him as though he was going past a park and cone. He went past him as though the lad wasn't on the pitch. The header back against Man United was brilliant. Last night there was one time when the ball came up to him, and I wish he'd hit it on the volley. He knocked the ball back and it went to nobody. I wish he'd had a go and volleyed it. So I was going to be greedy at it. He's doing an awful lot and he's getting assists. And when he put that ball to Wilson, he's obviously got people that can finish. He was always guilty of saying people don't finish off the hard work he does. But now he's got people around him equivalent. So I was over the moon with Maxi last night. And I thought when he come off, he was smiling. And I think he thought, right, I've put your shift in and I want to start next week. Trippier, what a leader. What a leader. That lad's just, I don't know. I think you want to chuck his birth certificate away because he just looks so up for it. He looks so much in charge and he looks so, I don't know. He's just got a great touch in that. But the lad who don't get us wrong, Bizak. How nonchalant was he when he put that ball in and just literally put his arms behind his back, as did the goalie when they watched it go in. But for me, the lad I want to mention is one of my young heroes who I've lobbied people for 2 years. My mate doesn't like him as a player. He's a Newcastle fan. And he said, I see your adopted son had a canny game tonight. And I just sent the 30 laughing faces and a clown face at the end that says, mate, just admit you're wrong. Sean Longstaff, God almighty. He has the capability. I said it on our private WhatsApp. He has the capability of being our Milner and our Carrick. If you just bear with this lad, recommend it. Think of how he was treated by Steve Bruce. Watch what these coaches are doing with him. And Sean Longstaff just gets through yards, gets through tackles, gets through skin, grit and bone. And I tell you what, he epitomises everybody that loves that badge. Sean Longstaff last night was exceptional. He worked his backside off, as he did against Man United, and them goals will start going in. And he did it the other week. He started scoring and he nearly had a hat-trick. But put the whole thing together. It's wrong. I can't over-exert me turning. I can't over-egg it and say, look, you lot just go and read a book and I'll go through the whole team. But Newcastle United with a credit to the fans, to the owners, to the manager, and they were just black and white diamonds. They were just absolutely amazing. And I've been like a kid with a new toy today. I just buzzing. I had 20 quid on, 35 to 1 for 700 quid at 4-1. And I shouted louder than anybody at 5-1. And I couldn't give a toss. I lost no money. I was just so happy that we started getting what all this fan base has deserved for so many years. Brilliant. Absolutely love it. Over to you, George.
Thanks, Keith.
Good night.
Is there anything left? No, seriously, I'm delighted to follow that because it was exceptional. I've got to be honest with you. In all the years I've supported the club, when that finished last night, it was sort of feeling I had after I'd come back watching the entertainers, and that's how high I put it. That's where they are now. There's no doubt about that. And they added, they picked up of last night where they left off on Sunday, but they added something else, being clinical in front of goal. Had they been that clinical on Sunday, it would have been Manchester that got the hiding. They saved it for West Ham. It's amazing how some of these so-called professional pundits sit there and give their opinion. I don't know what game they've been playing because they talk absolute rubbish. And it's a very, very biased set of pundits as well. One's the son of an ex-West Ham player, manager, and and the others are all connected to West Ham. And you think, well, yeah, that's a bit of impartiality, isn't it? No, they were just absolutely immense. Whether they played it long, short, it was all dangerous. Some of the long balls were just absolutely incredible. And Trippier, well, if Kieran Trippier isn't the England manager's first name on the team sheet in future, then the England manager should be changed, because there can't be another right back as good as Kieran Trippier in the Premiership. He's absolutely, and add to that, as Keith says, he's also a leader. He's there. Anything's happening, he's there. If West Ham were talking to the referee, Trippier's talking to the referee. He doesn't let them get away with anything. And that's what a good captain should be like. He takes it all, and that's fantastic. And then across the back four entirely, well, nobody put a foot wrong. I mean, I was a bit worried at the first few minutes when Bourne give Dan Burn a hard run, and I thought, oops, if this is going to be dangerous for the game. 5 minutes later, Dan Burn had him in his pocket. You know, Bourne could have gone home. He was never any danger after that, really. And the two centre halves, well, Shaw has been playing out of his skin since Eddie Howe took over the team, and he did it again last night. And my favourite, of course, is ice cool Mr. Botman. Never gets ruffled. That's a young man who could play another 10 years. 10 years for Newcastle United and still be the star centre-back. Wow, you know, I just can't imagine it. It's just unbelievable. So, and midfield, well, we're worried because our talisman from Sunday had a slight strain, so they left him on the bench, and Big Joe came back in. Big Joe, good God. If ever I owe an apology to any footballer, he's the one, I've got to say. For 2 years under Bruce, I did not give that young man the lickings of a dog. In fact, I used to say to Steve, sitting next to Steve, is there a footballer in there at all? Because his shirt never gets dirty. He never gets a sweat on. He just doesn't do anything forward at all. What the hell is he doing on that pitch? And now he's added 50 million to any price that people would come for him. And the same thing applies to him and Bruno. If Brazil can afford to leave those two midfielders out of their team, by hell, it must be a bloody good team, I tell you. And all stuck together with a glue that is made on Tyneside and North Shields, Sean Longstaff. What a nice midfield trio we've got at the moment. And all performs well. The other pluses, well, we saw Callum Wilson come back to life again and frighten West Ham to death. And San Maximum using the awareness he showed on Sunday, he brought it last night again. And his cross for the first goal. I mean, interestingly, West Ham at the corner were wetting themselves because of all our big blokes. And the net result was they left the centre forward on his own to head into the net. I mean, it was just classic ball watching by West Ham. Terrible defending, but thank you. We'll take it. But Maxi had to hit the spot, and he did. And that's great again. And Jacob Murphy, well, I don't know what Eddie Howe feeds them in their Weetabix, but it's working for. It's working for Jacob Murphy because, again, a couple of years ago, the goal that he laid on for a tap-in for Wilson, brilliant. The old Jacob Murphy would have put that in Rose head. He would have put his foot through the ball and it would have went into Rose head. It wouldn't went in the goal. At this time, he also suddenly developed the awareness to say, well, hold on, if I just push it across there, it's a tap-in for Callum, and it was. I mean, just incredible. The last thing I'll finish with, so I don't go on as well. The two goals that Joe Linton scored 18 months ago, he would not have scored.
Yeah, you're right.
He wouldn't have put those in the onion bag. It would have been either in Rosehead or it'd been a goal kick or he'd been sitting on his backside with the goalkeeper or something. But the way he nonchalantly zipped round the goalkeeper and stuck it in the back of the net was fantastic. And the other one, well, was just he created himself and finished it off himself. And the very last thing I want to say was that in football and all sports, there's always a photograph which, for the rest of your life, sticks in your mind as representing something very special. Well, the photograph that will stick in my mind was the one that somebody put on Twitter yesterday of Isaac and the goalkeeper standing side by side, watching the ball go in the goalkeeper's own net. I think myself, and somebody said caption it. Well, I could have captioned it, but I was using quite a few rude words. But you know, and Isaac standing there with his hands on his hips as if to say, "Well, there you are. That's how you do it." Fantastic.
Well said, George.
Thank you, everybody.
Well said, George.
Brilliant stuff. Steve?
Hey, guys, you've talked all about the West Ham game. Can I roll back 6 days and talk about the Man U game as well? The game where we only had 44% possession and Manchester United had 56%. Nobody mentioned, of course, that at least 20% of that possession that Manchester United had was with De Gea either holding the ball or deciding which side of the goal he was going to take a kick from. This was after, of course, Ten Hag had complained about us time wasting. I don't think I've ever seen as much time wasting in the game, and we're being slagged off for it all season by people. The time wasting that went on in that game and the way that Ten Hag's only tactic against Newcastle United was to try and slow us down. That says an awful lot about the quality of football that we play and the fact that we're in their face and Manchester United, let's face it, could not handle it. And I thought the performance that we had on Sunday was probably the best performance of the season. I thought that the players were all up for it. We knew that there would be. We hoped there would be. I'm saying we knew. We hoped there would be. And I think our hopes were answered because they certainly were up for it. And you then roll forward into what was supposed to be a difficult game. A West Ham rejuvenated after a home win, looking for more points, trying to get back onto winning ways. And you know what? I mean, we talked about it on Tuesday night show, was it? Where we said that on the We Are the Geordies that Wednesday night, sorry, before the game, we said that it depended which West Ham turned up. It depended how they handled it as much as anything. We said that they would come at us. They came at us for 3 minutes, and that was it. It was over. Yes, we could say that we had a shaky start. I think there was a little message that we got from Keith saying that we'd been atrocious. 2 minutes later, we were all telling Keith what a great start we'd had as we went 1-0 up. That for me, that was the start, wasn't it, Keith? Of a further 85 minutes of absolutely wonderful football. Not just in the manner of the way we played the game, but the way that we controlled the game. Yes, if we're going to criticise, we could say that we let them back in at 2-0. We decided to coast it a bit. And I think that shows that when you're a pressing team, that when you do step off, it does give the opposition that little bit of encouragement. And it's how you handle that. And, it became 2-1. And I think, like the rest of you, I was sitting there at half-time thinking, God, we've got to really be tight at the start of the second half. God, 22 seconds later, it's 3-1, and it's, let's face it, game over. You've mentioned some of the players there, and we did talk about it as well, and I mentioned on Wednesday's show the fact that we were playing through the channel rather than wide on the wing. We were trying to cut through the inside left, the old inside left, inside right position. That's where the runs were coming from. That's where the goals came from. Maxi, for once, he alternated. He was going left and he was going right. I thought that he really, really gave the fullback the run around all day. The kid couldn't handle it. The kid was out of his depth, I think. But that's not to take anything away from Maxi's performance. And it was the way that we gel as a team when we get like that, when we get on a roll. And you've mentioned Sean there. Yes, great performance. You mentioned Joe Linton coming back into the team. And again, we talked about the changes that we thought might have been appropriate, and they were the changes that we expected, with Joe Linton coming back in for Willock, who was suffering from a little bit of a hamstring twinge, and from Isak being rested and giving Wilson the opportunity, and boy, did he take it. But all in all, you just look at the camaraderie, you look at the team performance, you look at the squad as a whole, the depth, not so much in the quality of the players that are coming on, but the attitude of the players.
Commitment.
Because that attitude, exactly, Keith, turned into commitment. And when was also the little tweaks that were made during the game when ESM came off and we brought Anthony Gordon on. Gordon then wanted to track wider. He was dragging their central defenders across and the fullback across. Their midfield, let's face it, once the first 20 minutes, once Paqueta realised that he was never, ever going to be able to mark Bruno out of the game, Paqueta's game got better, but so did Bruno's. And Bruno had him in his pocket the whole of the first 20 minutes because he knew that he was just going to follow him around. So he was just making the little darting runs and had his pal like completely bamboozled. And it's all these little things that I enjoy now watching Newcastle United. I'm analysing the game and I'm doing it with a smile on my face. And I hope that everybody else is doing that. The only people that aren't are the Jamie Redknapps of this world, isn't it? So, hey, roll on. We've got a good game, a big game on Saturday, where I'm expecting the momentum to continue. But I think we'll probably cover that as the show goes on.
Yeah. Okay, Mitch.
I'm going to let people get a little bit carried away. I'm going to suggest there's another gear in there. I'm going to suggest we didn't play as well against West Ham as we did against Man United.
I agree with that.
I'm going to suggest that West Ham gave us a little bit of a hand.
That's true.
And I know we've said somebody was due a shellacking. Somebody's due a proper shellacking.
That's right. That's right.
Because, you know, I had an hour and a half or so this afternoon to sit down between doing various things, and I had a little look at the goals, and they're right back, who we looked at one stage when he was at PSG, and he came with good reputation. I think he didn't switch on until about the 65th minute. You know, he put the ball out for the corner. That where first goal come from. He then was totally unaware about where Joe Linton was when he started to make his run for the second. And any fullback in that situation, all he do is take 2 steps forward and block him off a little bit, and his run's naked. He can't time the run then. He didn't even know where he was. I've got a feeling the lad didn't even know what pitch he was on. And then the third goal, what the centre-back was doing, I don't know. I know I saw the highlights with the radio commentary, and Ando saying he didn't want to call it schoolboy because he shouldn't see it on a schoolboy pitch. Then if that's the case, what the hell happened for number 4? You know, but this was a defence breathing a sigh of relief that Callum Wilson had gone off, and then realising, oh shit, that's who's come on to replace him. Oh hell, we've got a problem here. And the fifth was all for me, all from Anthony Gordon's tenacity to win the ball and get that move running again.
Absolutely.
And it tells me there's still more to come in there if we need it.
Oh yeah,
there's still more to come, and I think that's absolutely amazing. Who would have thought we'd be sitting here talking about stuff like that? You know, I think what we did do though, the high press and that effort, that non-stop running, and then to see the substitutes come on and just pick up where the starters had left off. That was, for me, probably the most sensational part of the game.
Yeah.
And Callum Wilson's back, very much back to his best. I think there's something that people have missed for that first goal is that he did that thing that I know I've talked about Kevin Phillips being very good at this. He made the space in the area by standing still. He let that back 4 who were wetting themselves about the people with height drop 3-4 yards back, and he only took 1 step, and suddenly he's standing in the middle of the box on his own. And then the cross from Maxi was superb. He let the man might as well have not been there. You know, he was another one sent for the bus and probably had to pay to get back into the ground. You know, just things are really starting to click. That's a Maxi that's starting to click. Well, we called a lot of this on We Are the Geordies through the week. We talked about, Steve made a very good point about West Ham lacking confidence. Well, that very much looked like a back 4 that didn't have any confidence. You know, the stats said that they got on average a goal a game and yet conceded over 20% of their goals in the last 10 minutes. Well, 2 out of 5, that's, you know, fair whack that. You know, it pretty much panned out as it could have done. What I did like, though, ruthlessness, was for all that's a goalkeeper who made a rick and conceded 5, let's give him a round of applause for the 3 fantastic fingertip saves he made.
Yeah.
Then that could have been the shellacking we were talking about, because the one from Maxi and the one from Murphy in particular, they were very, very, very good top class saves. And so it's all still sinking in, Today, just here we go. It makes me feel buoyant for the weekend and going forward. And we've got a feel-good factor that I can't remember feeling for a very long time indeed, and long may that continue too.
Can you just remember, Mitch, though, when at the start of the season, when they went to pre-season and we got a little report about how Eddie Howe wasn't happy with the attitude in terms of he wanted to play this pressing game and he wanted them to start kicking each other and bashing each other about. And the word come back from the players at the time was, we'll never be able to sustain this. I wonder now what's going through those players' minds, because what you've got there is you've got a manager who had a plan and he said to them, you buy into this and you'll see the success. You'll see the benefit of what I'm doing now in the close season. Then what we did when we went over to Saudi and then what we did just a few weeks ago when we went over to Dubai. And they've all bought into it. That's the good thing. There hasn't been a rush of players leaving the club because we're pounding them.
And maybe some of the biggest dissenters are the ones who've taken slightly longer for the penny to drop.
Yeah.
And yet once it has dropped, they're all in. That's right. Keith made a fantastic point about Murphy, about him growing up and growing into his role. That young man, I've said this before, I keep saying it, when he was in Riyadh, was an absolute credit to the football club, an absolute credit to his manager, and total box office to sit and chat with and interact with. And if you wanted to show any young footballer how to apply yourself and get yourself into first team contention and grow, when a manager comes in and asks you to do something, sit down for an hour with Murphy.
Yeah,
because I'm telling you now, what a lovely young man he is, and a credit to the club.
Yeah, you also remember as well, Mitch, though, that there was a point where lots and lots of people were condemning the fact that Murphy was anywhere near the first team. And I think the words that we used on here is the reason that Murphy is always the first player to come on was because Eddie Howe trusted him. He brought him and to do a particular job. And that trust has now paid off immensely, not just for the football club, but for Murphy himself, because he's now kind of cemented himself as one of those players where Howe's going, I've got a problem now. I can't. He's playing so well. How do I take him into the team?
Isn't there a stat that says we've not lost a game when he's been in the starting 11?
That's right. Yeah.
I'd need to check that, but
there's something else. There's something else you two were touching on. You're saying. I think Niall's just touched on it there. I think it's a mammoth point you've just made now. Is when these players came in, and Steve Hasty rightly said that Howe said, "Do it my way and see what happens." And then what Niall's rightly said is, not everyone's going to toe the line and do exactly what Howe says. But what Niall's hit on is that a couple of players now seem to firmly get. But I when you were both talking about that, I thought it was a case of what's dropped. I think people realise if you don't do it the way that team does it, the way Eddie Howe does it, you won't be in. And I think that's why. I think that's why, as a manager, he's not frightened to drop Isaac last night. He's not frightened to do anything like that. What he'll do is he'll pick what he thinks the right side, and he'll play it his way. If you don't want to, then yes, you might be going to wherever abroad in the summer. But when you do want to, not only will you be a team player and get in, you'll be a better player than what you were. And I think he's making these people better players. And you know what? Give him in the past when we say what a difference he's made to. I mean, he made a great difference to me, to Fraser. I thought Fraser looked better under Eddie Howe, albeit he must have rolled off the cliff. But when you look at people like Joe Linton and like Sean Longstaff, you see massive differences. Well, after what I watched last night, one of the big, I think he's made a big difference to Jacob Murphy. I think he's made him, because people think Murphy's young, and he's 29-year-old in February. That's what he was, 29 gone February. And at that age, I just sit there and think, he's not a kid. He's in the prime of his football life. But by God, I tell you what, you can see why he wants to stay, because he looks 5 times the player under Eddie Howe as what he's ever done before with the black and white shirt on. And I think you've hit it right on the head, Neil. I think it's Howe's way. I think Howe is one of their managers. I think if he's one of the 14th managers to get sacked rather than 13th, apparently gone. I think Howe will say, "Well, I'll go down fighting, but I'll play my way, and you will play my way." That's what I think exactly at Newcastle.
Yeah, I would agree.
Can I come back with a compliment for you lads? Well, on last night after the game, I sat and watched everything on Sky Sports about the game to pick up all the nuances and all the rest of it. And I watched it right till the end when they have the back pages of the newspapers on. And the two reviewers, one was Craig Hope, and one was the girl that works for the Times, I think. And Craig Hope must have been recording Geordie's here, Geordie's there, Geordie's everywhere, because nearly every quote was word for word what either Neil or Steve Hasty or you, Steve Wraith, said about Ten Hag and about Manchester United, because this girl journalist was trying to beef up how good Ten Hag is, and Craig Hope said, "Well, I think you're overdoing it because he's done that well." And Sunday was as much his fault as it was the players. But some of the phrases he used were word for word what you lads were saying on the program the other night. And I thought, well, he obviously watches the program and records it, I think, because that was all word for word what the lads were saying.
George, last night, can I just say last night I watched it back. I watched the match back. And you know when you have a few beers in the house and you watch it back, it's always you're not as tense and you sort of know that you're going to win. So I watched it and I didn't realise when Bruno had the ball, he played a 1-2 with the post. He knocked it off the post to get it back. It was all deliberate. That. But might have been the drink.
Classic. Absolute classic. Okay, as always, we've got plenty to get through on the show. Here's Tweet of the Week. Thanks, as always, to Zara. We had a multitude of Manchester United tweets this week, and I'm not going to make any apology for showing most of them. James DeMarco, Newcastle aren't ready for this duo. James said, "Oh, yes, they are." And they certainly were. Paddy Power at it again. Bruno Fernandes for 99% of every game he plays. And a new brew in Manchester. Manchester Bitter. Thanks to Newcastle United FC fans on Facebook for that one. And this one. Who is the first player you think of when you see this Manchester United reversible shirt? Answer, the ref from Fire Skill.
Very good.
And Jeff Livingston posted this photograph and said, "Taking both your centre backs off, though." Excellent stuff.
Strange, wasn't it?
And when you're having your eyes tested, the optician blocks off your left eye, but you're in too much of a hurry to get your anti-Newcastle rant onto social media. Warwick trophy for Newcastle. Brilliant, that. Brilliant. I did chuckle at that one. Plucky NUFC playing above their levels from Billy Bell.
Yeah, look at them. Look at them.
Let that sink in, Manchester United fans. And Sir Edward Howe's black and white army. Nice welcome to Newcastle, that one. On Countdown this week. And Gavin Webster, Gateshead winning yesterday on pens, worth the money for a trip to Wembley. The Mighty Mags playing Man U off the park today, definitely worth a year's subscription to Sky Sports. Seeing Steve McLaren with his Eric Morecambe glasses looking like that secretary of the most hated Sunday League team, losing his for Pope time wasting and getting restrained by the fourth official, priceless.
Quality.
Chiddy, Ten Hag spent the whole week chatting the most about Newcastle's style of play, only for Newcastle to drill in 22 shots on their heads, clean 2-0 slapping, and draw level with them on goals scored while conceding 18 less. It's good to see the Arsenal fans enjoying last weekend's result. Anthony Gordon, what a result. Special atmosphere today. Jacob Murphy, Star Boy Malfoy. That's the leak of his nickname there already from the lads in the dressing room. Big shout out, Andre and the boys. It was an absolute pleasure to do the talking for them last week and, introduce them to Nobby Solano. They had a wonderful weekend and some of them overstayed and managed to get tickets for West Ham last night. But the Bulgarian lads and the Newcastle United, the Bulgarian supporters group, I think most of us bumped into them at some point over the weekend. A lovely bunch of guys you couldn't want to meet and you couldn't wish to meet, sorry. And great to see them. And I hope that they enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed seeing them. So great photograph. Wayne Bennett, he only just got second place at the second best Premier League's Bruno. Some great tweets flying around about him. That one's, I'll let Paul Usher's tweet speak for itself.
Yeah.
Bitter, doesn't your shampoo, hasn't got a dad.
Yeah, caption this, said Toon Army. Michael Jones said, "You're not Steve Wraith." Jacob Murphy was back at it again this weekend, wasn't he? He has really turned into somebody, like as Mitch was saying and Steve was saying before, the guy, bleeds black and white and, he's a big part of this team.
Real character.
Thanks, Lee, for this one. Name, Ten Hag. Hype, Klopp. Haircut, Pep. Attitude, Mourinho. Expectation, Sir Alex Ferguson. Reality, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer with a little touch of Neville, spiced and flavoured with Potter.
Brilliant, that.
And Lee Erickson, thanks for this one. 488 days ago, Newcastle United were 20th in the Premier League. They now sit third with the best defensive record across England's 4 divisions, taking points from Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea, Spurs and Man United. Lost once at St James's Park all season. Eddie Howe, give yourself a pat on the back and a round of applause. Great tweet, that.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
This one from Steve. Apologies for anyone who starts humming the Proclaimers. Parker no more. Tuchel no more. Large no more. Gerrard no more. Hassan Huttel no more. Lampard no more, although he is back. Marsh no more. Jones no more. Vieira no more. Rodgers no more. Potter no more. Who's next for the door? That was a great tweet, that, Steve. Very good. Very good. Breaking news. Local man admitted to hospital with golf ball lodged in his backside. His wife told the Daily Dafty it's gone up a fair way.
Dear.
And Adam and Eve, the first people to not read the Apple terms and conditions.
Very good.
I've got high hopes for this outfit, said the Geordie singer. Spruce spring clean.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Excellent, that, mate. Excellent. And Todd Boehly to appoint new Chelsea manager on a rolling 45-minute contract.
Just giving it ex-players, isn't he, for every 45 minutes?
Unbelievable. This one from Louise James to Toon Chance. The Mackhams will love this one. He looks good. He looks good. He looks fine. He looks fine. Jack Ross on my mind. Coaching Geordie under 9s. I don't think it'll catch on, but it certainly tickled us. My friend was at the pub quiz and phoned me, says Robert Wilkinson. What's the second biggest state in the USA? I said Texas. He rang off, and next minute I got a text from him. What's the second biggest state in USA?
Oh, dear me.
I love that. It took me a little while. But that was excellent, that one. Jack Stevenson, Harry Kane passed his Man U cheating interview with aplomb. He should have been sent off as well for the 4 yellow card offences he committed in 5 seconds. It was
shocking, that.
It was shocking. I've watched it back.
Horrible.
Toon Poles, he says, it's really come to something when you get a phone call on a family holiday at Peppa Pig World to sort out a poll. Fear I've got this too late, but let's give it a real go. This was in response to Jamie Carragher going, Monday Night Football, 7 o'clock with Gary Neville and David James. You choose the running order. And he asked Toon Poles to put out a poll. So fantastic that. I'm really pleased for Toon Poles getting that kind of feedback from some of the bigger names. Kieran Maguire says, based on figures in the accounts and assuming a 1-year payoff of 12 million to Potter and his team, Chelsea have spent 174.2 million hiring and firing managers since Abramovich bought the club in 2003. Wow.
So it's what, 1.74 billion, is it?
That's crazy, isn't it? Crazy amount of money to spend. Dougie Morris, Alexander Mitrovic has been banned for 8 games for pushing referee Chris Kavanagh. In a statement, the FA said, "We are aware that Bruno Fernandes also pushed the linesman at Anfield, but he plays for Manchester United Football Club, so no further action will be taken." Element of truth in that. Before it was carved, Mount Rushmore's natural beauty was unprecedented.
Oh, God.
Jesus.
Very clever.
Thanks, Ian. And this one from Ian as well. Caught speeding so far: 12 planes, 6 helicopters, 3 pigeons, an eagle, a witch, Superman, and a really, really fast cloud. And this one from Jimmy, as Mr. Risky, we're going to start calling him on here. When you see it, it can't be
Christ.
unseen. Thanks, Jimmy. And breaking news from Roger Cook: a mummy covered in chocolate and chopped hazelnuts wrapped in a gold-coloured foil and placed in a paper sarcophagus has been discovered in Egypt. Archaeologists believe it may be the long-lost Pharaoh Rocher.
Oh, that's really nuts.
Hey, food that does what it says on the tin from Dougie: Shito, mild chili sauce with shrimp. And I phoned my wife and asked if she wanted me to pick up fish and chips on my way home. She just grunted at me. I think she still regrets letting me name the twins. Stephen Kennedy says, "Love this one. Daffy Duck calls the front desk at the hotel that he's staying at. He requested a condom to be sent to his room. The person at the front desk asks, 'Shall I put it on your bill?'"
Oh, dear.
Mark Byers, thanks for this one. "What's the difference between an alligator and a crocodile? I believe the main difference is that one will see you later and the other will see you in a while. I could be wrong. I'm not a zoologist." One of our former sponsors sent me this one. Anyone else think that they are a Jedi master?
Look at that.
Cheers, Gareth. Hope you and Nathan are well. And this one: have you heard of Murphy's Law? Yeah. What is it? If something can go wrong, it will go wrong. Right. Have you heard of Cole's Law? No. What is it? Thinly sliced cabbage.
Oh, God.
I'm looking for a book about turtles, says this man. Hardback? Yes, with small heads. And don't worry, there's more of them. Bloody chaos. Missed the start of yesterday's show due to an ice cream van breaking down right on a corner near to my house. You'd have thought he'd put some cones out. Thanks, Michael. Jimmy, Mr. Risky Moore's back. Anyone up for a night out at the MILF Plaza?
Quality. Absolute quality.
Thanks, Jimmy. I bet you're booked in there now. And these posts have been removed in case they cause offence, says Dougie Morris.
Oh, dear.
Top 3 was these. Dougie Morris says, "Why is the electric bill so high? Alexa, turn on the lights. Alexa, turn on the TV. Alexa, play music. Alexa." And I hate people who can't let go of the past. Debt collectors are the worst. Dougie, you've sent us that many this week that I've used this one.
Is Dougie the winner?
My wife announced she'll be leaving me in the morning because of my obsession with Wham. I said, "Wake me up before you go." Dougie,
oh, dear.
Thanks for all of them, mate. I've got to show this again. I'm with us pre-recording this on Thursday. I'll be doing the live with Gibbo and Malcolm at 6. But I know we're not at lookalikes yet, but I just love this, Gibbo. I'm going to have to show him it on tonight's show. Just spitting dabs. All right, here we go. Whoop, someone's phone's ringing. Is that
it's
yours,
mine, I'm afraid, yeah.
I'm putting you on the mute. There you go. Yeah, Keith, let's have a quick prediction as to how long Frank Lampard's going to last in the job.
Yeah, I was quite shocked by that. I mean, he is well held down there, and they still do have an affection for him. But yeah, what did he do in his last job? He made a lot of promises. I think the guy who replaced him is doing a better job. I think he huffed and puffed, and I just don't think the Chelsea job's the kind of job that you could do on an interim part-time basis. You know, that Chelsea job needs people to look at all the people they had who've been sidelined, and I'm talking about players of the ilk of Pulisic and people like that. Some really, really, really good players, and they've just been really badly dealt with. And then he's brought in other players. So if you just look at Mudryk and look at Fernandes, you just look at them and think to yourself, are they really 86 million and 110 million? You know what I mean? Like is that the kind of ilk them? Maybe they are. I'm not, you know, the expert. I'm just saying, are they really, them two players, are they really 190 million pounds worth of players when Botman's 30 odd and Joe Linton's 40 or whatever, and you know, like Isaac's 63. I just don't see it. To then give that to an ex-manager who, yes, you buy some, but like putting Shearer in charge of us. Yes, people would rally around him, but does it make the right move? And for me, I think he's a good, honest pro. I think he's a good footballer, but he's a manager. I think if he was ever going to be the man to get something, you know, to get a tune out of a fiddle, he should have done it. He should have done everything. And I just looked at it and I just think to myself, he's proven that he'd run out of tricks. He'd proven that maybe he's not lost the dressing room, but he literally turned a team, quite an expensive team and some decent players, into a bottom three team. And I don't think ever did that team play under Lampard and looked like anything other than a lowish league team. So why then would you give him all those expensive wannabes, has-beens, potentially cracking players? And when I talk about potentially cracking players, I look at someone like young Gallagher. You know, I think he's a cracking footballer, and I think that he's been badly dealt with. I think he's had a raw deal. Stick Frank Lampard in there. Yes, he might work with a few like that, but you know, what does he do? I mean, the only thing I see is, you know, there must be 8 people to every peg in that dressing room. How does somebody go in with 10 games to go and make sense of that? And is it not? This is what somebody said tonight. Is this not a ploy by Chelsea to admit that Tuchel was wrong, admit that Potter was wrong, and say maybe we shouldn't have got rid of young Lampard? Like maybe we shouldn't have got rid of what they call him. Who are we on about?
Oh, Potter. Yeah, getting rid of Potter.
No. Who the lad who's got who are we on about at Chelsea?
Lampard's gone to Chelsea.
Lampard. Aye, that's what I mean. So is Lampard not being put in there with a view to seeing whether he is the right one with better players? Is this not a cheap shot by Chelsea to do it? Because I don't understand. They're not going to get relegated and they're not going to get Champions League. So I don't understand what putting him in there is going to achieve. Because the only thing you're going to buy is you're going to buy some, you know, remove some unrest amongst the fans. That's all you're going to do by putting in their old hero. But if Nagelsmann's going to get the job in the new year, in the new season, then I don't see what the benefit of putting Lampard in was. I just think, you know, I think he might have put his father in. You know, his father might have done a similar job. But you know, when I look at Huddersfield, I understand why they put Neil Warnock in to keep them up. I couldn't get why somebody as highly paid as Frank Lampard, that is well respected, is put in. What's his purpose or what's his goal? And if his goal is anything other than keep the fans happy, then I'd love to know what it was.
Yeah, it's a strange one. Steve, you predicted this was going to happen. You said that he would be gone before the end of the season.
Yeah, Mitch and myself both said that Potter would not last the season out. What we didn't say until we probably watched the game on Tuesday night against Liverpool, that Frank Lampard would be installed as some sort of caretaker for the rest of the season. But the minute we saw him sitting in the stand, we thought, oh, there's a rabbit off here. What's going on? And that for me, I mean, he put himself front and centre there. There's no question in my mind that he's there to deflect all the flack that was coming Boehly's way.
Yeah.
Of what they've done, the ridiculous decisions they made to get rid of Tuchel, and then the fact that they've had to go first employing Potter and then getting rid of Potter, and all the money that they spent subsequently in transfers, which was obvious had nothing to do with Potter. You're not telling me that Potter was sitting there saying, "Oh yes, let's go out and spend all this on Mudrich, let's spend this on Hernandez," all that type of thing. It's absolutely pathetic. They were playing Monopoly money. They were playing for fun, playing some sort of fantasy football up in the director's box. And then they've suddenly gone, oh, we're going to get loads of stick now. We're going to get stick not just from the fans, but we're starting to get questioning what's going on by the press. And so all of a sudden they've offered Frank an opportunity here to come back in. We talked about Boehly not knowing what's been going on. You think Boehly's not aware that Frank Lampard was a failure at Chelsea in the previous generation? Because he was. It's not that long ago that Lampard was the manager and they had to get rid of him. So I suspect that Boehly wasn't even aware of that because he seems to know nothing about his own football club. He's definitely there alongside Ashley Cole, merely to settle the troops and to just put a nice, nobody will slag off Frank, and nothing's going to be Frank's fault. It's not going to be Todd's fault. We're doing the best. They've basically given up on the season, and they're now going to look to next season. But the two people that they've been talking to don't want to be there yet. They want to see exactly what's going on, and they want to hear from Boehly what the real transfer activity is going to be. They want to know exactly what the budget's going to be. They want to know who they can get rid of. They want to know who they're going to allow that can get rid of. Players that remember that they've given 8-year contracts to. And what I'd say about the lad who was doing the job, not being funny, but we get hammered by the press. Nobody hammered the fact that they played a 3-man back three with wing backs, and then they played 3 defensive midfielders sitting in front of that back three, and they've got no strikers. There's nothing going on. They've got 2 blokes up front who just seem as though they haven't a clue. Certainly can't put the ball in the net. Felix was completely out of it, and so was Havertz. The fans don't like Havertz either. They're losing interest in him. I'm loving it, mate. I'm absolutely loving it. It's Chelsea. This is great. Long may it continue.
I heard that Chelsea, there was a board meeting last week, and 4 of them sat down and had to put on a piece of paper who they nominated for a caretaker manager, and 3 of them all put Lampard. And when they went to Boehly's, he put Potter.
Nothing would surprise you.
Mitch, I mean, look, you and Steve did, you put your reputations on the line as podcasters, I guess, and just, basically said, oh, you're out before the end of the season. And there was a few raised eyebrows and, as the like, but God, you were right, mate. I mean, 7 months in a job. Unbelievable.
The minute Boehly came in and started playing Championship manager, there's no way Potter could control what was coming in, what was going out. And therefore, there's no way he can control what happens with that team. I mean, I shared my reaction with Chelsea Rob when I told him this afternoon on Twitter this afternoon. He's still going, he's still seething. He just messaged us about 10 minutes ago saying, is Boehly on glue? He's absolutely hopping. He's absolutely hopping. And quite right too, we've seen this coming. They've got a squad with about 18 wingers in, no real striker, a load of defensive midfielders, a load of centre-backs and wing-backs, and that's what it is. They can't decide on which goalkeeper they're happiest with. It's an absolute shit show. It's just a train crash. And I reckon Ancelotti must be absolutely wet in his pants in Madrid. They've got Chelsea's only path to the Champions League, no matter what Boehly thinks, is by winning the thing. And that's their next opponent. And who's going there to face them? On the back of them just sticking 4 past Barcelona in a derby? Frank. Great. Nah. They've given up on that as well. There's an absolute train wreck happening there. And the man responsible is the man who we said, when he came in, he might have a great understanding of how he can make FFP work. But he doesn't understand football.
You did.
Doesn't. He understands how American sports work and how he can flex your muscles as an owner there because of salary caps, because the players don't have all the power. He doesn't have an absolute clue what to do when it comes to managing Chelsea financially. I think it's fascinating, and again, something else. I'm glad it's not us for a change. We're the ones on the outside looking in, going, "Hey, it's going on down there." and so you could see certain things coming, and I pity any manager going in there, because any manager going in there does not have control, does not have any kind of sensible power, because the power still seems to be within the boardroom. Whoever it was who was screaming a few months ago to get Boehly away from the day-to-day business has obviously lost that battle internally. And yeah, I mean, it just was never Potter's squad to work with. It was the squad that was imposed upon him, and that spells disaster in football. It's never going to work out. And I'm going to be absolutely fascinated to see how they're going to make their books balance, how they're going to get their squad trimmed down, who's going to do business with them. And again, this comes back to a conversation we had probably about a year ago, when we were talking about there'll come a time, because of the car crash of finances in football, when the financially buoyant clubs like us can turn around and actually be choosy about who we do business with, and we hold the power. How badly do you want rid of that player? What kind of value can we have off that then? If you really need that player off your books, we'll take him, but we're not going to pay 30 million for him. We might give you 20. And if the Todd Boehly's the negotiator, we might get him for 10, and a bag of magic beans and some fantastic new clothes that you can't really see when you hang them on a hanger, because you go for all of that. So I think the next few months are going to be really interesting, particularly once people get their accounts to start to pick through as well. We still don't know which account certain monies are resting in, and what's being included and what hasn't been included. And I think on the late filing again this year, that immediately is a big red flag popping up in the middle. So the next few months are going to be quite interesting from a Chelsea perspective.
I'll give you. If you believe in irony, guys, then the fact is that Frank Lampard, when he eventually left the club, one of the reasons why they got rid of him, he was unhappy with the transfer activity. And one of the players he wanted to buy, because he wanted goals, was Aubameyang. He's come into the team, and one of the players that he can't play, even though he needs goals, next Champions League is Aubameyang. I mean, how ironic is that?
Hey, have you seen this other crazy stat? How Chelsea is this? That if Kante plays the next game, he'll have played his last 4 games for a different manager.
There's hats off to you, mate. Hats off to you, because I don't class myself as a podcaster. I think I'm just a football fan who somehow got on a podcast. But you lads come on and you put your money and your mouth on there to be judged, and you make predictions. But George started the show by being very humble and saying, I owe a huge apology to Joe Linton. And I just wanted to say it, and Neil wants a bit of recognition. As far as this Todd Boehly goes, I remember you and Stuart Penman, Neil, both saying that he'll not even get till Christmas. And I think when you see a statement as bold as that, I don't think you were wrong. I just think you were months ahead of everybody else. I think you saw what was coming, you and Stuart, long before the rest did. And the other thing I'll say to you, when your dad's being so honest, it must be a Mitchell thing. Yeah, Joe, you might owe Joe Linton an apology, but the one person in the whole NUFC podcast arena who said there's a player in Joe Linton's your son. Your Neil said there's a player in Joe Linton. And a lot of people don't go back and say, oh, Neil, you're right. Sorry, I got that wrong. But that's, you called Todd Boehly before everybody else, and you called Joe Linton before everybody else. Well done, yeah.
I tell you that the only reason, from my perspective, you could kind of get a feel for who he was going to come in is because I love so many American sports, and I've got a handle on some of the American sports. And the American sports owners really don't get how football works, not just because of relegation and promotion being an anathema to them. But because of the way the power is structured within the game and the way the money sits within the game, the way television money is used, the way sponsorship money is used, and it's all about trying to balance things and share power between the clubs, and the owners have far more control over everything they do. They can take a star player and get rid of them like that.
Yeah.
You think you're the bee's knees round here? Bye-bye. And so you can't do that here. And they are coming over, and this is the clear and present danger to the Premier League, like me and Steve have been banging on for years. It's not money from the Middle East, it's money from America, because those American owners will want to change the very nature of the game from root and branch up.
We once had a bloke like that, didn't we? We had a bloke like that years ago that had that culture. If you were good or big, or they thought you were big at the club, you got rid. He was called Gordon Lee. Can you remember him?
Yeah. Gordon Lee, and
Gordon Lee.
You're on mute, Dad.
Hi, George. You're still on mute because of your phone. Take him off mute, Steve.
Yeah, you were punished, George. You were punished. All right. Punished for having that phone ringing again, and you promised me you wouldn't be organising any interruptions, and then you get.
George. Must be great getting told off over the
That's all right. I can cope. Is that all right now?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah. What I was going to come back with is listen to his talk. And I told you last night I watched Craig Hope. Here's a quote direct from Craig Hope last night when they were talking about Chelsea. And his first quote was, "It's madness and it's all down to Boehly." And then he said, he knows a lot about money, but he knows nothing about football, either on or off the pitch. Now, which two people on this screen said that? They're sitting in front of it. And that's exactly what Craig Hope said last night, honestly. Word for word, what you lads have been saying for ages. And then went on to talk about how Boehly actually put Potter down as his choice to run it till the end of the season. How can you put a manager back in the dressing room that they've just sacked him from? The players have already got a dozen nicknames for him, none of them which are very complimentary. And how is he going to pick a team out of that? Absolute madness.
Because there's precedent for things like that in recent history, in baseball and in American football, where a head coach has been deposed, sent away for a fortnight to sit on a naughty step, and then brought back in to steer a team at the end of the season because they realise they're out of playoff contention and they're playing dead rubbers. So they bring the safe pair of hands back to steer them to the end of the season. No, he won't be there after. This is the kind of madness that happens there sometimes that is anathema to us. We don't understand moves like that, but they do. And so that's clearly, again, if that's true and that's what he's wanted to do, again, that's very much American sports thinking. Well, just bring him back.
And if you really want to see how mediocre Lampard is the manager, you just need to watch the Everton-Tottenham match the other night. Sean Dyche just come in, and immediately Everton are kicking everything that moves and aren't going to be moved very easily. Where before, if that had been Lampard on the dugout, Tottenham would have won that match easy.
Yeah.
And Sean Dyche has turned them into a team that's hard to beat and willing to have a go. Where Lampard, as I say, if it had been Lampard in that dugout, Tottenham would have won that match easy. So it's just madness, absolute madness. But they'll pay for it in the end.
My interpretation.
Well, mate, John, who's an Everton fan, when he saw what I'd put on Twitter about Chelsea, Robbie messages, he said, "Do you have a picture of his face when you told him?"
My interpretation, George, of Potter, of Boehly, I think it was tongue-in-cheek when people say 3 voted for Lampard back and 1 said, "I think we should have Potter for." I think that's just a wind-up joke on Boehly not having a clue where his ass from his elbow is, because they were. I think it's been a humorous quip put around that Potter doesn't even know who the manager was. The only thing Potter knows is who's rumoured. Boehly. The only thing Boehly knows who's rumoured to be the best players he saw on his telly screen at the World Cup. I think he watched the World Cup heard who the reporters were raving about. I think he went and bought them all. But I don't think he really, like when Neil says he doesn't understand football, I don't think he understands coaching. I don't think he understands scouting.
No.
I don't think he understands FFP. I don't think he understands London people. I don't think he understands competition amongst the likes of Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham. I don't think he understands a lot of things. I think he understands soccer, and I think he understands franchising, and I think he understands raising finance. And that's it.
Yeah.
I think he understands the mechanics of FFP. Yeah, and that's why these long contracts will come in. Clearly somebody who understands the mechanics of how you get around certain rules, but he still doesn't understand the implications of, and again, I've used this name on a number of occasions, a Henry Saviet type situation where you've got a player on a long contract who nobody else wants to pay, and so he just sits his bum down and says, I'll have me check every week, thanks.
I don't think he understands, Neil, how to get a team at the Champions League. I don't think you realise you've got to get the top four. I think he thinks that comes automatic.
Well, there was a suggestion he'd had a conversation with someone where he said in front of a group of journalists, because obviously we're guaranteed the Champions League money every year. And somebody said, well, but you've got to qualify for it, you know. And he seemed to be a little bit ambiguous about whether he understood that. Now, again, how much truth and how much little bit of a stab at him as an individual that is, I don't know. I suspect there's more than a sprinkling of the truth in it.
Yeah, but he's good at is playing between the lines, isn't he? He's playing between the financial lines, because that's a typical financier. He's been given a set of rules, and then he's the analyst who's been able to go right. Well, how can we get around that? And with a good legal team behind him, he's going, that'll work, and that's the game that he's been playing. He's been playing the financial game and not realizing there's a game that gets played on the pitch. And to win those games on the pitch, you've got to have a good manager, and you've got to have good coaches, and you've got to have players that will play as a team, and you've got to develop your team. And they're the things that he's forgotten about. And the other thing is that, in my perspective, I thought Potter this season stood every chance of getting them into the Champions League final, because it seemed the only competition that he seemed to have a handle on. And I think they've just thrown that one away as well.
Probably because he had a smaller pot of players to pick from.
Exactly. He had it. He was in control. He'd already got rid of the Aubameyangs and those problems, and he had a firm plan in mind of how he was going to handle playing in those Champions League games. He had made his conscious decision that the league couldn't be won. He was already out the FA Cup. This was the big chance. This was the big saviour for him, and they threw that away as well.
Well, the thing that made me smile was it last night? Yeah, it was. There was a journalist talking about the possible candidates for Chelsea, and then they talked about Jose Enrique, and then they start to talk about his terms. And the terms they start to lay down is Boehly would have a heart attack if he even looked at the terms, because Enrique wants to be able to know who he can sack, who he can hire, what he can do, what he do this, and all the things that Boehly's doing himself. And that manager would want to do the whole lot. Well, he's not going to get one very well with Chelsea, is he?
Yeah, I honestly think that what Boehly did was Boehly jumped and got rid of Potter because he was too busy watching what was happening at Tottenham. And he thought, there might be, there's a manager that we might want. I think he's been looking at other clubs, and I think there's an element of that. What's the grass that's greener on the other side of the fence? Who might they get? Oh, well, if we have to get a new manager, that means he's out of the running. So we need to be in that game. He's forgot which game he's playing. He's not playing Football Manager in choosing manager.
Game.
He's reading the wrong game.
Can I bring some reality to all this? Just to, for you to think about Potter. He got 20. Was it 15? 25 for signing on and 15 for leaving, right? 40 million pound he got. Just spare thought while you're watching this show and just think to yourself, a mug with 40 million can get 10% return in the markets now. So if he invests that means he gets £80,000 a week interest for the rest of his life. 80,000 he can spend, and as it accumulates, it goes up. So with his 40 million untouched, he's got £80,000 a week 80,000 a week. Not even,
As long as he doesn't give it to Craig Bellamy.
but what I'm saying is, what a phenomenal amount of money. So where people might think, why did you do it, Potter? Because we all said, don't leave Brighton. I mean, maybe he had to. Maybe he's doing well at Brighton over the same period. Might have earned him 5 million. This guy and his family and all his kids and offspring, they're set for life in a way. And he's had a go, and it might have worked. So I don't blame him at all, and I don't think he's become a bad coach overnight.
No, I think he'll go on. I think he'll go on and go. I think he'll go elsewhere and have success.
I think you're right, Steve.
We're well over halfway through the show. I'm going to play the ads. Plus, I need to go to the loo. A big thanks to all our sponsors: Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website skipsandbins.com, easy contract free and pay as you go waste collection. Thanks also to Mr. Vicky's, handmade in Cumbria. These sauces are really hot stuff. You can order them by emailing info@mrvickies.co.uk or by telephoning 01768 210 102. Thanks to Neil and the guys at Media Arts for all the help with the video side of things. And thanks to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle, and the guys who run our website, nufcmatters.com. If you want to subscribe to the show, hit the subscribe button tonight. It is free. Hit the thumb up under the video to like the video and click share to share to your other social media. If you want to join the channel, hit join. There's 3 different tiers. Pick the one that suits you and help support the channel financially. If you want to pay a one-off membership fee of £25 and get these goodies, a scarf, a pen, a cup, and entry into the monthly draw, then go to NUFC Matters and look for membership pack. Failing that, get your smartphone and put it over the QR code and it will take you straight there. We're also a podcast and you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, and other podcast providers. Usually goes up 24 hours after the show has finished. We also support the food bank on this channel. If you want to make a virtual donation today at the Matchday Bucket, go to nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk and you can make a deposit today. Don't forget to enter the Shearer raffle. There's 150 tickets, £1 per ticket, and you can win a limited edition signed Alan Shearer ball. Enter now at nufcmatters.com. If you have a look on our website, we've also got a vast range of mugs, t-shirts, cups, and whatever else takes your fancy. The Isaac t-shirt is proven popular this month, $16.99 plus delivery from nufcmatters.com. Don't forget as well, we do a range of events over the course of the year. We have Peter Beardsley, an up-close and personal evening at the Tynemouth Surf Cafe. Limited tickets remain, 25th of April. Get them now from Surf Cafe, tynemouth.co.uk or from ticketweb.uk. There's also an evening with Peter Beardsley on May the 19th at the Tyneside Irish Centre, and you can get tickets from newcastlelegends.com, and tickets are £50. Don't forget our end of season do takes place 27th of May, 7 o'clock at the Tyneside Irish Centre. Tickets for that one are a tenner, and nufcmatters.com is where you can get your tickets for that. In June, Thursday the 1st of June to be precise, Rob Lee will be at Louis Liquor Store in the Big Market in Newcastle, and tickets for that are available direct from the venue. And an evening with Rob Lee, Lee Clark and John Beresford takes place the next evening on Friday the 2nd of June at the Grand Hotel in Gosforth. This is a charity event and tables are of £10, £700, and you can book them by contacting Natalie at heelandtour.org.uk or visiting their website. In July, Gavin Peacock is in Newcastle on July the 10th at the Tyneside Irish Centre. Tickets for that are available from nufcmatters.com. And he also takes an evening with at the Surf Cafe in Tynemouth on the 11th of July. So get your tickets direct from the venue for that one as well. And if you're a boxing fan, the Night of Champions, Ricky Hatton, Frank Bruno, Nigel Benn and Joe Calzaghe takes place at the Fed. And that will be taking place on the 16th of June. More dates to be added. Tickets from all those events, www.goldstarpromotions.co.uk. Okay, time for the damn message. Dear Matt, we're asking you to send in photographs of you meeting someone from Newcastle United, past or present. Guy Carr, thanks for this one. Dear I met, spotted him in Metro Centre prior to the Man U game. He says, then a posse of young'uns followed him into Superdrug. Sorry, Dan.
Brilliant.
It's not like he can hide. Jeez.
Yeah, amazing, isn't it? I mean, anybody stands next to, he towers over them. Callum Wilson this week was hilarious. But if you've got a photo, get it sent in, and we will feature it on the show and annoy people with this music. And once again, we don't take this for granted. A big thank you to everybody who has supported the channel over the last month. 248 new subscribers, 295.6 thousand total views, 3.7 million minutes watched. Thank you very much, NUFC Matters community. Great figures.
Absolutely.
And,
thank you, everybody.
Thanks very much for being a big part of it and keeping us going and through the ups and downs. John from QDEC. We haven't got his clue for this week, so I'll refresh you memories. So we'll put the next one up. The final question next week: 5'10". Bury 3 NUFC goals. So when we're back live next week, you'll have your question in the chat, and the first person to give the correct answer will win the prize. Okay. Just want to look at the new training facilities have been unearthed and unveiled slowly but surely over the last few months, Keith. How much of a part is that going to play at Newcastle United for attracting new players, but also just for making the new ones, making the current players happy? Because I guess, and I'll show you a couple of photos in a minute when I get them loaded up. A before and after. And when we talk about investment in the club, we think about players in particular, because that's what ultimately dictates whether you're going to be better than another team. But facilities make they play a big part, don't they?
I think they do now, and I think they did when Rafa was there. I don't think they played any part when Bruce was there, because he just gave everyone the day off. And he didn't seem to do any training. But as far as the current fix of players, I think it's mammoth. I think it's huge, and I think I always look back and think what was the most important signing, and for me, without doubt, was Trippier, because we had no right to get Trippier for £12 million. You know what I mean? He came to this club, he took a hell of a chance, and what I'll always look back on, Trippier and Bruno, they came when it was just a promise and where there was adequate funding. But there was no track record, no nothing. So they were gambling. Trippier was gambling his reputation. And I know they say he had genuine personal reasons he wanted to get back to the UK, but he could have gone to a lot of places, Spurs being one. So for me, when they came, they must have looked at them training facilities and thought, holy shit, where have I woke up? Because I guess in terms of if you look at Leicester and what their training facilities, you look at Newcastle, you would say that our facilities are more akin to Beirut. When a player's getting in the wheelie bin, there's an ice bath. You can make a joke of it. You can put pictures on Twitter and WhatsApp, but it's not funny. You know what I mean? And I think when you look back, what I've noticed, which is very it's very relevant where we go now, is when you look back now. There were a lot of injuries, and we look at players think, shit, what's happening to these players on the training grounds? And I think now they talk about when you go in there, it's not just nice places. We've obviously seen the inside, say the eating facility, so it's a better place to wind down. It's a better place to build teams, get a team spirit going, to eat. So when Anthony Gordon got signed, we saw how everybody was sat around in what looked like, I'd call luxurious cafe come restaurant style place. And I think it's the kind of place where you could say that's us. I don't think it's where it ends. I think this is the interim project where we are now. I think with this ownership we've got, with PIF involvement, I think we haven't seen the end game in terms of the stadium or in terms of the training ground. But what I think we've got something that is definitely adequate to retain the people we want to keep. And when I do that, I'll say name two. I'll say Botman or Isaac. If you want to go on, Bruno's of the world. You've got to keep them people. You've got to keep them happy. Because there's one thing certain is there's bids coming in for them lads. There'll be bids in the summer for Botman and Bruno, as sure as I've got no fringe. It's going to happen. You're going to have people coming at us for them players, And the other thing is people will try and turn heads like Maxi and people like that. You want them to feel as though they're missing something. And I felt when we lost Wood, and I felt when we lost Shelby, I felt that they went very noble, very respectful of the club, very grateful for getting the opportunity to play more. But there was a sadness in them that they were leaving a special crowd away. They walked away for a special group of players, and people now are looking out for results. And I think if you spot the Shelby tomorrow, he's in the battle of his life trying to keep Forest up. But I think he's looking at Newcastle thinking, that's a great squad, and that squad's going somewhere. But the one thing that let us down all the way was the training facilities. We didn't have, and I don't just mean pitches, and I don't just mean change rooms. I mean the rooms next to the medical people and next to them. So the medical sciences that you get into, Neil will articulate this better because he's from a medical background, is that you don't just want one physio. In physiotherapy, the different degrees of that on a footballer's body is incredible. So you'll have specialists in different disciplines that they're doing, and to not have enough room for them people, or to have the well publicised ice baths and hydrotherapy pools that were just absolutely substandard, would get a new player to think, come on, a new player goes to Man City, goes to Newcastle 2 years ago. He's not coming here. And what I noticed before we got all these facilities ready is that we were losing kids. We were in for Perón from Argentina, and we had Mercedes coming up with Newcastle, and it was a done deal. But he ended up going to Man City, and we lost a great kid, Sancho, to Chelsea. So for me, when you look at all them people, I think to myself, the training ground couldn't have helped. And I don't think it's the finished article now. I just think it's 80-90% of where we want to be in 5 to 10 years' time. I think that we've got a facility that's good enough for any professional footballer to do his stuff, to get treatment, and to get well looked after. And I think we've never been in that position for a long, long time. I think Newcastle's been shambolic, in the sense. I'll compare it to the kids' teams we've had who just don't seem to have been managed correctly, and it seems that the structure in the youngins at Newcastle has been miles away. We're getting battered off teams like Sunderland, who clearly haven't got the facilities, the background, the scouting, or anything that we've got. And I think you've just got to look at the whole structure. When you looked at the training ground facilities, I think it was just, in Keith Patterson words, dog shit. It was just miles and miles behind where it needed to be. I'm a bit of a dreamer, and I think that we'll end up getting a new complex, in Gosford or somewhere, developed by the Rubens that'll be mind blown, and it'll be as good as anywhere in the country. But I think now we'll have gone from worst in the Premiership, and we'll probably be just over mid-table now, which is it means we keep the Brunos of the world, and it means we can attract the right players. I still don't think we're there, but I think it's light years ahead of where it's been.
Yeah, I would agree, Mitch. It's definitely it's got to be a massive positive for those players going in and just seeing the facilities and sitting in there. It's got to be great.
It's clear that it's more than just a lick of paint, and you can just see that from the pictures, and that's definitely what was needed. But we also have to remember this is also very likely to be, at the end of the day, just an interim solution as they look to build something bigger going forward, and that's the next stage of the evolution. But it was an important one, Keith's touched on it. Facilities, sometimes people say they're not that important. I would disagree entirely. If you've got the best particle physicist in the world, is he going to be solving quantum theory and whether you can fold space to create wormholes and cross the galaxy? Is he going to do that sitting in a lab in Switzerland with access to the Large Hadron Collider or is he going to do it on a Friday night in his shed with a couple of cans and a Henry Hoover and some bean cans? You know, you can have the best mind in the world, but that best mind in the world also needs the facilities to do what he needs to do. Same with the sports medicine. Our sports medicine team have come under fire quite a lot in the last few years. I think some of it is for the right reasons, and some of it's probably for the wrong reasons. That probably were doing at times the best they could with what they had. And I think, like all elements of medicine, you're now getting physios who aren't just football physios. You're now getting physios who are ultra specialised. Just deal with knees and down over. Deal with backs and hips. And that's happening across medicine as a whole. I'm now coming across colleagues who are genuinely so ultra specialised. I look at it and think, well, how can you just do that all day, every day? But there's enough subtle nuance and in-depth knowledge for that to be happening, and certainly within sports medicine, that's happening. And so the facilities are key, not just to impressing people coming through the door and retaining those who are already through the door, but are allowing the very best people, because it's quite clear PIF want to recruit the very best they can. They need the best facilities to enable them to do the best they can. Yeah. And so I think they've made very big steps in a short space of time. And I think the next stage really will be part of putting us on the launch pad to take us to the next level again. And I think Keith's right. I agree with Keith in terms of I think there'll be a training complex with exceptional facilities sort of earmarked for somewhere in the town, somewhere. It wouldn't surprise me if it's on land owned by the Rubens. That would be the most logical thing to partnership with. And I think that when we see signs of that happening, you know the next level really is coming.
Yeah, I would say you're right. George, thoughts on the new training facilities? There's the old ones, and there's the new ones.
Well, the fact that I could see it out of my bedroom window helps as well. And not before time. I mean, what Ashley did to Rafa was criminal. You know, Rafa asked to try and update the facilities, and Ashley sent a painter in with a pot of paint, and they painted them. That was it. And how Rafa stood for that, never mind some of the other things that were tricks were played on him. But you see the difference even from Rafa's time. Rafa had an individual dossier on every single player. He knew what they could do, what short sprints, what long sprints, and all the rest of it. And what did Bruce do the day he walked in? Got rid of the ball. He binned them all. Well, I wished he had. Well, he might have done the size of his stomach. Yeah, he might have done. But that sends it to a different level. It's the way of training, and you are going to go into modern training. And as Neil says, you need the modern facilities to back it up, the modern medical staff to back it up, I think I've said to you more than once on here that when I used to hear the pre-season training things that they used to do when Bruce was running things, and it was like a mini Olympics, 100 meters timed, 200 meters, 400 meters, 1500 meters, 3 kilometers, all timed, and then he used to put them in ranks as to who was the best at this and that and the other, and fine for those that need that, but not everybody needs that. Some of the players that have hamstrings and muscle strain possibilities, the last thing they need is hard running like that just to get a time. They can develop their strength and their muscle structure in the proper gymnasium, in the proper workroom, being guided by proper physiotherapists and strength coaches, and not on a running track. The notion that you just need to be able to run went out with the dark ages in terms of football, and you can see it in every football ground any football club you go to. And the you know, the jibes about, as Keith says, about the ice baths being in wheelie bins and all that sort of thing. What we need to remember is that when Ashley took over that place, it was regarded with the academy as being one of the best in the Premiership. It didn't take long for it to become one of the worst in the Premiership, just by sheer neglect. No, it's fantastic, and I agree with the lads. It's a step in the right direction, but it's not the final step. There'll be something bigger and better on getting put on plans now, ready to develop. Probably, if not this close season, the close season after. I don't think it'll long before we'll see an all sing and dancing facility, which is important. And for young people going into that sort of facility, Keith's absolutely right. It sets the mindset. I want to be part of this. I want to be part of this. Is an important part when you're attracting young people and their families and so on to stay with you. So yeah, I think that it's good, but it's a step in the right direction, and it'll get better the next time again.
Steve?
Yeah, you look back, and George is right. At the time, just before Ashley arrived, Newcastle did have what was classed as decent training facilities. What happened, of course, was that first Chelsea developed new training ground at Cobham when Abramovich came in, which was around about the same time that Sir John Hall went, you know what, I cannot compete with Abramovich, despite having plans, if we all remember, for a new training ground to be developed by the airport at Walsingham. Then Liverpool, they developed new training ground. Man United, ditched Carrington, went for a new training ground. Then I think it was after that, Man City, the buyout, the way that they built a complex. And then you suddenly start getting the likes of Leicester and Brighton building training grounds and building not sort of, you know, let's regenerate what we've already got. Building proper state-of-the-art. Tottenham did exactly the same. State-of-the-art training grounds. Training grounds with 16, 20, 25 pitches. Training facilities that also incorporated the women's teams that those clubs were pushing at that particular time. They were doing things, bringing in specific academy areas. Newcastle at the time decided, as you say, put a lick of paint in. I remember being in the fans forum back in 2015 when the question was raised in the summer about the training facilities, and at the time, Lee Charnley said, guys, we've got plans for the training ground. We've got real big plans. In fact, we're going to take you up there. Then, are you all available next Monday? And next thing you know, we all met at the training ground and we were given a guided tour, and we were sat down in a room and we were shown the plans of what the club had for the training ground. And he was quite proud of it. He was quite proud of how there was going to be a hydro pool here, and there was going to be this there, and there was going to be that. That was under Pardew. Pardew was sacked, if you remember. Eventually Rafa comes in, and one of the things that Rafa did when he was there was, let's have a look at these plans, because by then Rafa had seen what was happening at Brighton, he'd seen what was happening at Leicester, he'd seen the facilities at Manchester and at Chelsea and at Man City and Everton and so on, all the way through the leagues, and he knew what was happening in Spain, and he went, you know what, let's have a review, let's see whether what you're putting in is going to be first class. Let's see if it's going to be fit for purpose. And at that point, the plans were revised, or supposed to be being revised by the club. And what happened? They basically just sat on a shelf, and Rafa just was left to languish in whatever the facilities were. And I remember the week that Rafa left, being up at the training ground, I was with Bill Corcoran and Colin Whittle, and he spent some time. He sat us down. He took us around. We had a session watching some training. It was fascinating, and one of the things we noticed was that even Rafa abided by the rules. As we were going back into the cafeteria area, Rafa said, "Sorry lads, you go in there. I've got to walk all the way around to the side door, and I've got to go in that way because I'm wearing boots, and I've got to go and change my boots. I'm not allowed to walk through because I've told the players they cannot come through this cafeteria area straight from the training ground and in if they're wearing training kit and boots. And I've got to abide by the rules." And off he went. And it came through. And we're looking at it thinking, you know what? even if they'd come through in boots, it wouldn't have made any difference. The place is a tip compared to what you would expect. I mean, it was no better than a 20-year-old comprehensive school facility that you have as a gym, to be perfectly honest. It was that poor. So it needs upgrading. We know it needs upgrading. There's obviously, the club knew that they had to do something quickly. It's great that they've managed to get there. One of our crowd was in there just a couple of months ago and saw it firsthand, the changes that were being incorporated, and came back and reported to us that he thought it looked absolutely spot on and the players would be chuffed to bits. But I think the long term, I think you'll see Newcastle with a purpose-built training ground. The lads are saying Gosforth. I think they'll be a little bit further up into the outskirts of the city and possibly up by the airport. That's where there's plenty of land. That's where there's to be. I don't think they would have ever been able to get the university land that overlaps with St James with the Dorsley Park. I don't think they would got the Blue Star facilities, even though the facilities at the Northumberland, even though Northumberland FA are moving down to the Coast Road. I could see that being perfect for the girls, the ladies team, where they can have their own little ground. Those type of developments, see changes happening, and those would be great. Bring the facilities closer together. But I think in the long term we'll see something really, really special develop. And anyone who's seen the photographs of some of the training facilities in Saudi Arabia, and we're talking about Man City, we're talking about Chelsea and Tottenham and all those other clubs. But boy, those facilities in the Middle East, they knock that into a cocked hat. And if that's the sort of direction that we're taking, then it's going to be exciting times for any youngster who has aspirations to be a professional footballer and managed to make it and starts representing Newcastle United from the region. You can imagine being a 10-year-old now and looking at Sean Longstaff and saying, I want to be Sean Longstaff. In 10 years' time, you could be training in the most amazing facilities possible. That's what Newcastle United's all about, the future.
Fantastic. Okay, time for Tune Lookalike. So a mixture this week. Thanks to David Shepherd. No need for introductions as to who this was. We did manage to stick a little bit in Twitter. Took these tonight, Keith. Mr. H looking pensive at Kittlewake Pub Whitley Bay, possibly for next Friday. Great watch tonight. Your insight is tremendous. Thanks, David Shepherd.
Can't even go out for a drink now.
You know what makes me laugh? He's got the pub in Whitley Bay. He says, I think I'll just take a picture of the dog so it looks like Hasty.
Brilliant.
I'm saying it is me. Not it looking like you. Like it is me.
Find yourself going through that. Albert's standing up for you, Steve. He goes, no mug, this lad.
Be good books.
He then followed it up with this. Our Majesty through the ages.
Hasn't even got the date right. Yeah,
and this one, it looks like you've been on the sunbeds. And Hasty experiments with a bit of loopy and nail varnish, says Andy Cooper.
What the hell?
I think he meant lippy.
God.
Thanks to Barry Hogan. Is this Mr. Hasty on the guitar?
No.
Hey, that's not bad. Eric Clapton.
It is Eric, but he's about 40 years older than me.
Okay, we'll go back to Rachel. I don't know. Rachel really had an impact this week. So Albert joined in, best in breed.
Albert, dear me.
And then Legacy Magpie. Is that Steve Hasty in the barber's chair? I love these ones from Albert. The BBC announced that our very own Steve Hasty will be the new presenter of Crufts. First time
in a past life, I worked for the DWP. And if I still look at them, I'd be checking these out and getting them a job.
Rachel's back in again there with that one. I like that dog. And I don't know what you mean. Wrong colour hair, Andrew.
God, more like Steve Wright.
Well, you said he was a poodle, says Rachel. Rachel was on one this week, Steve.
What brave loss.
Steve Schwing Hasty says Milburn.
You had a cut like that, eh?
Andy Cooper, Hasty facing a penalty. That's a new photo. I've never seen that one, Steve.
No, never seen that.
Hang on, it's gone to VAR. Looks like Wraithy's pooch was played on side. Deflection, apparently. Very good, that. I did like that one, Albert. Thank you.
Double.
Back to Hasty. Cruft result in. Hasty wins.
All right. Always a winner.
I had to take the writing off around this one.
Jesus.
Steve. Suits you, sir. One for Hasty.
There's 4 for Hasty there, not 1.
Good.
Lovely. That was from your good old pal, Tom Dixon.
Good.
Steve Hasty in China, says Toonmeister.
Oh, that's the. I know who that is.
Who?
That's the Irish MEP, isn't it? Aye, yeah. Aye.
All right, okay. Is it Steve Baptiste or Clinton Hasty? And
Getting the word.
got a few of these. That Hasty is a pest. He's trying to muscle in on Gary Neville's post-match report from St James's Park on Sunday.
Oh, God, in the background.
This is a few.
The other way around.
Few people got that. These were the best shots. There he is again. Is that Steve Hasty with glasses on behind Gary?
Brilliant.
Sam Chipperfield, Steve Hasty's been popped.
Stop me.
And
Never wear a shirt like that.
Steve Hasty's been on the weight, says Sam.
Oh, all right.
Back to the dogs from Rita.
Rita, man.
A variety of llamas.
I thought she'd stop watching. I think she'd gone quiet.
And Jimmy Moore. Do you look like me? Hasty. Go on, Jimmy, lad. And from Paul Sonny Mag. No, it's a beauty of Paul. Super Hasty, Bat Hasty, Thor Hasty, or Game of Hasty.
They've got no else better to do these
They're all very tasty. Anyway, thanks for sending them in.
Must spend all day on the bloody computer.
David Moyes and Emily. Here's some serious ones. David Moyes and Emily Bishop.
Good God.
Thomas Frank and Professor Snape.
Not far off.
Good ones, these Rita, proper ones. Roberto De Zerbi and David Guest.
Oh, yes.
Quite good, that.
And another one from Rita.
We had eyes, I can see that.
Lisandro Martinez and Zelda from the Terrorhawks.
Oh, my God. What a horrible comparison.
This wasn't a win, but this was one of my favourites this week. Steve Wraith and Sir Keith of their view of the stage block by
So that's not her ass.
No, it's 2 heads. It's pretty good if you look closely. Jonathan Green, thanks for this one. Toon lookalike Jeff Brazier and Sue Smith.
Yes, I can see that.
That's pretty good, that like.
Isn't it amazing now here so you can see all them, but you can't see the likeness in the dogs.
Bruno Fernandez and Roland Rat from Melbourne. And
that's an insult to Roland Rat, that.
Chilling out tips with a Geordie dentist. It's been a long week, says Stephen Kennedy. Just picture Mitch like that in his apartment. Courtesy of Robert Baker. The difference? No, me neither. I did like this one as well, Keith. You suited that haircut. The likeness to Willis is remarkable.
Bloody Albert again. I'd love a haircut like that.
It would be fantastic, wouldn't it, if it could? Mark Hughes and Ailsa from Home and Away.
That's a ringer, that.
Really good, that one. That's a Tom Dixon one, I think. And Cesc Fabregas and Zachary Quinto.
Brilliant.
Excellent. Proper lookalikes there. Harry Redknapp and Annie Edson Taylor, the first person to survive going over Niagara Falls in a barrel.
That is spooky.
That's scary, isn't it?
Yeah.
Separated at birth. Very good.
God almighty.
Mitch looks like Bill Haley. That was it. This guy again in the dressing room as well. Bloody hell, Steve Wraith back in the pics again. Got to admire your balls. I mean,
I've got some
who is this guy?
I don't know.
Bald, and he looks like me, and he's in the dressing room photographs all the time.
Lads, is he?
He must be, yeah. Here's another one of Mitch. Oh no, it's Toon Tipster.
Toon Tipster. Poor Joe.
He's not yet to defend himself, but I'll take it off screen.
I'll defend him.
Keith and Steve Hasty, pals forever. And Jimmy Neal and Tony Adams. There's another good lookalike.
Quite good, isn't it?
That's
Yes,
good.
not bad.
Okay, top three. Don't know who your mate is, Mitch, but could be a candidate for two lookalikes.
Ah, it's good, that, isn't it?
Andy.
It's good. It's good.
So you're Brendan Rodgers, mate. That's Andy. Number two. Andy Cooper submitted himself this week. Two lookalike. Me at Spurs away this season, and apparently I'm like Nuno Espirito Santo.
What, on the tour?
On the tour.
Very good.
Get some dogs on for the winner.
Nope. The winner this week is this. Brilliant, that.
Yeah,
Yes.
brilliant. Absolutely.
Newcastle
Brilliant.
United's coaching staff
Ah,
and
just-
madness one step beyond.
Quality.
That's just one of those photos taken at the right.
All backing each other up to take
Brilliant,
on.
that. Absolutely
hard.
brilliant. Okay, that's the end of Toon Lookalike for this week. Get them dogs in for next week.
Exactly.
Okay, we've got about 6 minutes, lads, to go around the houses and get your predictions for the game of the weekend, because I've got to get off now and do the live on Thursday night. Don't forget, this is a pre-recorded show. So, Keith, Brentford away this weekend.
Don't want to sound like a smart ass, but the last three games, Forest, Wolves, I predicted 2-1. It was. Next game, I predicted Forest 2-1. It was. Man United, I predicted 2-1. It was 2-0. And last night, I predicted 4-1, and it was 5-1. So I tell you what.
Is that 2-2 then?
So I'm as tasty as at the minute.
Yeah,
So don't listen to that bloke. It looks like a hamster. Just listen to me when I'm talking to you. He's getting very bitchy.
2 right and 2 wrong.
Listen, if I want interference on me telly, Mr. Hasty, I'll order some. I'll tell you what I think. I think we'll go down Brentford. I honestly think, and I said this, the Man United, if you said to me out the 4 games, Man United and West Ham, I'd have said because of the ground, I'd have said they're the hard ones. And now I'm saying that Brentford and Villa's the hard games. But how would you vote against this team not smashing them to bits? And for me, I think, going to Brentford away is a nightmare. I think it's a tough game. And how can you not expect Newcastle to go and do them? So I'm saying that we're going to go down there. We're going to win. Definitely not going to get beat or draw, because this team doesn't do that. And I think the score's going to be 2-1. I'm going to go back to 2-1. I'd love to see. I've got to remember we battered them at home, but it was a bit of a funny fixture that we just seemed to come with plenty late on. But down there, they'll feel up for it. They only got beat 1-0 of Man United last night. They've got a good team. They give great account of themselves against Brighton, and they're a hard team to beat. And they run the game. They perform better than they've ever performed. So that you're playing a team very, very much on the up. 2-1 Newcastle. And will this run ever end? I hope not.
Okay. Mitch, are you going to do the dice tonight?
I have got dice, yes. And my feelings are, we were told all this last year when we went down to Brentford. Within 10 minutes, they had a man sent off and we put them away comfortably. When we played them up here, they couldn't cope with the high press.
Yeah,
that's what it did for them ultimately, and so we've got all the tools to beat them. The challenge is they are where they are on form,
merit,
and they've gained this season 2/3 of their points at home. They're a good team at home.
Yeah.
It's a ground I would be comfortable given how they play and that kind of information. I'd be comfortable taking a draw. I wouldn't be unhappy with it. But I would love to see the winning run continue. And we've got all the tools to do it all over again. We're on a high. There's no real area where they can exploit us. Perhaps only for a couple of moments, Pope looked a little shaky against West Ham. He's got to stop getting involved in the physical stuff in the box and just do his job.
That was tough.
If you ask me. But you know what? It's nice to have just something little to complain about. And running around like chicken little because our world's crashing in. It's a very different way of thinking. So I think we've got all the tools to do it. Let's see what the dice says.
1-2.
The dice says 0-1. 1-0 away win, which I take all day long. Thank you very much.
Me too. Okay, on to you, George.
2-0, straightforward. I can't see the spirit in that team not getting it through with Brentford. They'll respond to any challenge that Brentford gives because that's the way they feel at the moment. And go back to where I was for last night's game. Just injuries are nothing. There's people on the bench now who are aching. Young Gordon came on and affected the match straight away, and he could do that again, and so could some of the others. So, and we haven't even given that Elliot Anderson a chance yet. So, no, 2-0 for us. We'll do it at Brentford on Saturday.
Is he asleep?
No, he's not. Just pondering, just thinking. Keith got 2 right and 2 wrong in the last 4 games.
2 right, 2 bloody close. 4-1 and it's 5-1. Oh, yeah.
2 close. Hey,
don't beat a bitch.
You might be 1,000 miles away. You were that close.
Oh,
anyway, what you like.
Bring on the hamsters.
Brighton. See, you've got us all confused now.
Good.
Brentford playing good football. Thomas Frank's got. He's done really well. It's a good setup there. It's completely changed over the last sort of 5 to 6 years.
Yeah.
They seem to have owners that have a set plan, that they're playing really, really good football. There's a lot going on off the pitch, community-wise, and they're a joy to watch when you see them play. But I think everything that they do revolves around a certain Ivan Toney. And if you can control him and you can, he comes in, he's a touch player as well as being a target man. He can lay the ball off, he can score goals. You control him, and I think you can tend to control what Brentford do. They're not exactly the most formidable at the back. They've got nowhere near the defensive record that we have. So that says that we should be going into this game full of confidence. We are the form team between the two of them. They got beat off Man United, and I think it was, by all accounts, it was rather comprehensive in the end, even though the result didn't actually show that. But they got a good result at Brighton the week before, drawn 3-3. But again, Brighton playing very much on the front foot, but not very good defensively, and that showed, conceding 3 goals. So I think it's going to be an interesting game. It's going to be an exciting game, and the most exciting in a lot is it's a 3 p.m. Saturday kickoff. Amazing. How long ago is it since we've seen one of those? That's the big thing. Away game, 3 o'clock on a Saturday. Really, really looking forward to it. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Newcastle. Keep the record going. I'm not going to predict the goal scorers because I'll get them wrong anyway.
Copy your mate, eh?
2-0 I'm going for Newcastle United.
I was just checking you were listening, Mr. Patterson.
2-0 I'm going for. Going to finish up with 2 things. A genie granted me 1 wish, so I said, I just want to be happy. Now I'm living in a cottage with 6 dwarves and working in a mine. Very good, Elliot. And Julie, I haven't forgotten. Here is Troll of the Week. And the good news is, for the first time ever on the 3 Amigos, there isn't a Troll of the Week. I haven't had one bit of social media abuse.
Never.
There was a trolling last night, though. Trolling anybody that didn't live in Newcastle.
Oh, well.
And you go. Melly last night told you to forward it to me.
He wasn't trolling me, though. He wasn't trolling me. And that's what...
What about your mates?
Well,
So, see,
if you send us-
I did.
if you
I
send
did
us
call you a bold Tory nonce on WhatsApp this week.
doesn't count. Doesn't count. So I've played the music, but there isn't one. Enjoy your Easter. I hope you get plenty of eggs. Keith, Mitch, George, and Steve, thanks for joining us as always. Have a great Easter and see you all on the other side. Take care, lads.
Thank you.
Thanks, lads.
Good
Take
to
care,
see
everyone.
you. Good to see you all.
Yeah.